Jake Morrison walked across his muddy cornfield checking for storm damage. The thunder had been loud all night. Lightning had flashed across the Nebraska sky like angry fingers. Now the sun was coming up, and Jake needed to see what the storm had broken. His boots made soft sounds in the wet dirt. The corn plants looked okay. Most of them were still standing straight. Jake felt good about that. This farm had been in his family for 3 generations. His father had worked this same dirt. His grandfather, too. Jake was 47 years old now. His wife Mary had died 2 years ago from cancer. She used to help him check the fields after storms. Now he did it alone. The farmhouse felt too quiet without her laugh. The kitchen table felt too big for just one person. He walked toward the fence line at the edge of his property. The fence separated his land from the old Miller place. Nobody lived there anymore. The house had been empty for 5 years. Something was caught in the fence wire. Something big and silver. Jake walked closer to get a better look. It was not like anything he had ever seen before. The thing looked like a large sack or bag. But the material was strange. It seemed to change color when the sunlight hit it. Sometimes it looked silver. Sometimes it looked blue. Sometimes it looked like no color at all. Jake touched the material with his finger. It felt warm. It felt smooth like water. But it was solid like metal. The sack was about 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. It was heavy too. Jake tried to lift it, but it would not move. There was no opening that Jake could see. No zipper or buttons. Just smooth material, all around. But there was something inside. Jake could tell because the sack had a shape to it. Like there was a person curled up inside. Jake went back to his truck to get his knife. He had a good sharp knife that he used for cutting rope and opening feed bags. Maybe it would work on this strange material too. When he came back, the sack looked different. The material was moving slightly, like something inside was breathing. Jake felt his heart beat faster. What if there was a person inside? What if they were hurt? Jake put his knife against the material and pressed down. The knife went through easily. Too easily. Like cutting through soft butter. Jake made a long cut down the side of the sack. The material fell away like flower petals. Jake stepped back quickly. Inside the sack was a woman, but she was not like any woman Jake had ever seen. Her skin was pale blue like the color of winter sky. Her hair was silver white and fell past her shoulders. She was wearing some kind of tight suit that covered her whole body. The suit had small lights on it that blinked slowly. The woman was not moving. Her eyes were closed. Jake thought she might be dead. But then he saw her chest rise and fall. She was breathing. Jake knelt down beside her. He did not know what to do. Should he call the police? Should he call an ambulance? But what would he tell them? That he found a blue woman in a strange sack? The woman opened her eyes. They were large and green, like deep water. She looked at Jake with fear. She tried to sit up but fell back down. She was weak. She said something, but Jake could not understand the words. They sounded like music mixed with wind. The woman reached for something on her suit. She pressed a small button near her neck. Then she spoke again. This time Jake could understand her. "Please," she said. Her voice was soft and scared. "Please, don't send me back." Jake stared at her. He did not know what to say. The woman was clearly not from around here. She was not from anywhere on Earth, Jake realized. She was something else. Something from somewhere else. "Who are you?" Jake asked. "Where did you come from?" The woman tried to sit up again. This time, Jake helped her. She was light, like she was made of air and dreams. "My name is Zara," she said. The words came out slowly, like she was learning to speak. "I am from far away, very far away." Jake looked around his empty field. He looked at his quiet farmhouse. He thought about Mary and what she would have said. Mary always helped people. She always said that kindness was the most important thing. "Are you hurt?" Jake asked. Zara touched her side and winced. Yes, a little hurt, but not too bad. Jake made a decision. He did not understand what was happening. He did not understand who Zara was or where she came from. But she was hurt and scared. Mary would have helped her. "Can you walk?" Jake asked. Zara nodded. Jake helped her stand up. She was taller than she looked lying down, almost as tall as Jake. She moved carefully, like everything hurt a little bit. Jake looked at the strange material that had covered her. It was dissolving in the morning air like mist. Soon there would be no sign that it had ever been there. "Come on," Jake said. "Let's get you inside. You need food and rest." Zara looked at him, with those big green eyes. "You will help me?" "Yes," Jake said. "I will help you." They walked slowly across the field toward Jake's farmhouse. Zara stumbled once, and Jake caught her arm. Her skin felt warm, despite being blue. "Thank you," Zara said quietly. "Thank you for not sending me back." Jake did not ask where back was. He had a feeling he would find out soon enough. Right now, he just wanted to get this strange woman inside and safe. The farmhouse looked the same as always. White walls, green shutters, a front porch with 2 old rocking chairs. But Jake knew that everything had changed. His quiet life as a corn farmer was over. Something new was beginning. Jake helped Zara up the front steps. She looked at everything with wide, curious eyes, like she was seeing things she had never seen before. "Welcome to my home," Jake said as he opened the front door. Zara smiled for the first time. It was a beautiful smile, even though her blue skin made her look so different. "Home," she repeated, like she was trying out the word. "I like this word, home." Jake showed her to the couch in his living room. She sat down carefully, still holding her injured side. "Rest," Jake said. "I'll make you some food." As Jake walked to the kitchen, he wondered what Mary would think about all this. He had a feeling she would approve. Mary always said that home was not a place. It was a feeling. And right now, looking at Zara's grateful smile, Jake's house felt like home again. 3 weeks had passed since Jake found Zara in his field. She was getting stronger every day. The blue color of her skin had become brighter. Her silver hair now shined in the sunlight. But most importantly, she was learning to trust Jake. Jake had moved Zara to the old barn behind his house. It was safer there. If anyone came to visit, they would not see her. The barn was warm and dry. Jake had put an old mattress there, along with blankets and a small table. Zara's translator device worked better now. She had fixed it using tools from her damaged escape pod. The pod was hidden deep in Jake's cornfield. It looked like a large, silver egg, but most of it was buried in the dirt. "The pod saved my life," Zara explained one morning. She was sitting on a hay bale, watching Jake feed his chickens. "But it cannot fly anymore. The power source is broken." Jake scattered corn for the chickens. They made happy clucking sounds as they ate. Zara laughed at their funny movements. It was a sound like wind chimes. "Where did you come from?" Jake asked. He had been wondering about this for weeks. Zara pointed up at the sky. "A planet called Kepler. It is very far from here. Many days of travel, even in a fast ship." "Why did you leave?" Zara's face became sad. "My people were taken, captured, made into slaves by the Vorthan Empire." Jake had heard this name before. Zara had said it in her sleep sometimes, along with words that sounded like screaming. "Tell me about the Vorthans," Jake said gently. Zara was quiet for a long time. Then she began to speak. "They are like your insects, but bigger, much bigger. They have hard shells and many arms. Their eyes see in the dark. They are very smart and very cruel." She stood up and walked to the barn window. She looked out at Jake's peaceful farm. The Vorthans travel from world to world. They take the strongest people from each planet. They make them work in mines and factories. They make them fight in wars against other planets. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "What happened to your family?" "My parents were taken when I was young. My brother, too. I hid in the mountains for many years." Then I found a damaged Vorthan ship. I learned to fly it. I escaped. But you crashed here. Yes. Vorthan hunters followed me. They shot my ship. I almost died. Zara touched the place on her side where she had been hurt. It was much better now. The escape pod brought me to your world. Jake finished feeding the chickens and walked over to Zara. You're safe now. Zara shook her head. No, not safe. The Vorthons will come looking for me, and when they do, they will see your world. They will see how many humans live here. They will want to capture humans too. That afternoon, Jake's neighbor, Betty Rodriguez, came to visit. Betty was 62 years old and had been in the army for 20 years. She was tough and smart. She had been Jake's friend since Mary died. Betty always brought Jake groceries on Wednesdays. She said it was because Jake was a terrible cook. This was true. Jake could make coffee and sandwiches, but not much else. Betty was carrying 2 bags of food when she walked into the barn. She was looking for Jake because he was not in the house. She saw Zara sitting on the hay bale and dropped both bags. Holy Mother of God, Betty whispered. Zara stood up quickly. She looked scared. Jake stepped between them. Betty, this is Zara. She's a friend. She needs help. Betty stared at Zara's blue skin and silver hair. Jake, what in the hell is going on here? Jake told Betty everything about finding the strange sack, about Zara's escape pod, about the Vorthons and the danger that might be coming to Earth. Betty listened without saying a word. When Jake finished, she walked closer to Zara. Show me your injuries, Betty said. Zara looked confused. Jake's translator helped explain. Zara lifted her shirt slightly. There was a long mark on her side where something had burned her. Betty examined the wound carefully. Her army training had taught her about medical care. This is healing well, Betty said. But you need better food. You're too thin. From that day on, Betty helped take care of Zara. She brought better food. She brought medicine. She brought clothes that fit Zara better. Betty also asked many questions about the Vorthons. How many ships do they have? Betty wanted to know. Thousands, Zara answered. Maybe more. They control many worlds. What kind of weapons? Energy guns. Ships that can destroy cities. Soldiers that feel no pain. Betty nodded grimly. And they're looking for you. Yes? And when they find me, they will find your world too. One evening, Zara showed Jake and Betty something amazing. She had been working on a device from her escape pod. It was small and round, about the size of a dinner plate. This is a knowledge crystal, Zara explained. She touched the device and it began to glow. Pictures appeared in the air above it. Jake and Betty saw images of space, stars and planets and ships flying between them. They saw the Vorthon Empire, huge insects in metal suits conquering world after world. This contains everything I know about Vorthon military tactics, Zara said. Their ship designs, their weapons, their weaknesses. They have weaknesses? Jake asked. Every creature has weaknesses. The Vorthons rely too much on their technology. They think other species are stupid. This makes them careless sometimes. Betty leaned forward. What kind of careless? They do not expect real fights. Most species surrender quickly. The Vorthons are not used to enemies who fight back smart. That night, Jake could not sleep. He sat on his front porch and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, dangerous creatures were looking for Zara. And when they found her, they would discover Earth. Jake thought about his quiet farm. He thought about his neighbors and friends. He thought about all the people in town who had no idea what was coming. But he also thought about Zara's smile when she watched his chickens. He thought about how she helped him fix his broken tractor, using strange tools from her pod. He thought about how she was learning to speak English better every day. Mary used to say that family was not just about blood. Family was about people who cared for each other. People who would protect each other no matter what. Jake realized that Zara had become family, and he would protect his family no matter what came from the stars. The next morning, Jake found Zara teaching his chickens to eat from her hand. She was talking to them in her own language. The chickens seemed to understand her somehow. They like you, Jake said. Zara smiled. I like them too. On my world, we did not have small animals like this. Everything was big and dangerous. Well, you're welcome to stay here as long as you want. Zara looked at Jake with those deep green eyes. Even if danger comes? Especially if danger comes. This is your home now, Zara, and we protect our home. Zara nodded slowly. For the first time since Jake had found her, she looked truly at peace. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning. Jake was drinking coffee on his front porch when he saw something strange in the sky. 3 dark shapes moved across the clouds. They were too big to be birds and too quiet to be airplanes. Zara came running from the barn. Her face was pale with fear. They're here, she whispered. The hunters have found me. Jake stood up quickly. Are you sure? Zara pointed at the dark shapes in the sky. Those are Vorthan scout ships. They are looking for my energy signature. What's an energy signature? Every living thing has one. Like a fingerprint, but made of energy. The Vorthans can track it, from space. Jake felt his heart beating fast. What do? We hide. We stay quiet. Maybe they will think I died in the crash. But Jake knew it would not be that easy. Nothing was ever that easy. That afternoon, Jake called his son Alex. Alex was a Marine Corps staff sergeant stationed at a military base 2 hours away. Jake had not talked to his son much since Mary died. They had grown apart after the funeral. Dad? Alex sounded surprised. Is everything okay? Jake did not know how to explain. Alex, I need you to come home right away. It's important. What's wrong? Are you sick? I'm fine. But I need your help with something big. Alex was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I'll be there tonight. Jake spent the rest of the day helping Zara prepare. She showed him how to hide the energy signature of her escape pod. They covered it with metal sheets and buried it deeper in the cornfield. The metal will confuse their scanners, Zara explained, but not for long, maybe a few days. That evening, Alex arrived at the farm. He was 32 years old, tall and strong like his father. But he had his mother's kind eyes. He wore his military uniform and looked tired from the long drive. Dad, what's this about? Alex asked as he got out of his truck. Jake did not answer. Instead, he led Alex to the barn. Zara was waiting inside, sitting quietly on her hay bale. Alex stopped walking. His mouth fell open. He stared at Zara for a long time. Dad? Alex said slowly. What the hell is that? Her name is Zara, Jake said. She's from another planet. She's in trouble and she needs our help. Alex looked at Jake like he had lost his mind. Dad, have you been drinking? Zara stood up. She spoke carefully, using her translator device. Hello, Alex. Your father saved my life. I am sorry to bring danger to your world. Alex took a step backward. This isn't real. This can't be real. Zara walked over to Jake's old tractor. It had been broken for months. Jake could not afford to fix it. Zara pulled out a small tool from her escape pod equipment. The tool glowed with blue light. She touched the tool to the tractor's engine. There was a soft humming sound. Then the engine started running perfectly. Alex stared at the running tractor. Then he stared at Zara. Then he sat down heavily on a wooden crate. Okay, he said. I believe you. Now tell me everything. Jake and Zara explained about the Vorthans, about the slave empire that captured entire worlds, about the scout ships that were now searching for Zara. How many ships? Alex asked. 3 scout ships, Zara said. Each one has 5 hunters. But if they find me, they will call for more ships. Many more. Alex nodded grimly. What are their weapons like? Energy, guns that can cut through metal, personal shields that stop bullets, sensors that can see in the dark. What about weaknesses? Zara thought for a moment. They are very confident. They think all other species are weak and stupid. This makes them careless. Also, their shields work against energy weapons but not against fast-moving physical objects. Alex understood immediately. Bullets might not work, but arrows might, or thrown rocks. Yes. and their sensors work well in open ground but not in forests or buildings with many walls. Over the next 2 days, they planned and prepared. Alex used his military contacts to quietly gather information. He told his friends that he was researching new enemy tactics for a training exercise. Meanwhile, strange reports came from nearby towns. People saw dark shapes in the sky. Farmers found burned circles in their fields. A few people reported seeing tall figures in metal suits walking through the woods at night. "They're getting closer," Zara said. She was scared, but trying to be brave. On Friday morning, the first real encounter happened. Jake was in town buying supplies when he heard screaming from the diner on Main Street. Jake ran toward the sound. Through the diner window, he saw something terrible. A Vorthan hunter stood inside the restaurant. It was 8 feet tall with a hard, dark shell like a giant beetle. It had 4 arms and glowing red eyes. The creature was scanning everyone in the diner with a small device, looking for Zara's energy signature. The people in the diner were terrified. They huddled in the corner, too scared to move. The Vorthan paid no attention to them. It was only interested in finding Zara. Jake knew he had to do something. If the Vorthan scanned him, it might detect traces of Zara's energy. He had been around her for weeks. Jake picked up a large rock from the parking lot. He remembered what Zara had said about their shields not stopping physical objects. Jake threw the rock as hard as he could at the diner window. The window exploded. Glass flew everywhere. The Vorthan spun around, surprised. Its red eyes focused on Jake. Jake ran. He ran faster than he had run since high school. Behind him, he heard the Vorthan coming. Its metal feet made clicking sounds on the pavement. Jake reached his truck and drove away quickly. In his rearview mirror, he saw the Vorthan standing in the street watching him go. But it did not follow. It went back to searching the diner. That evening, Jake told Alex and Zara what had happened. "They're searching all the towns," Jake said, "looking for anyone who might have Zara's energy on them." Alex paced back and forth in the barn. "We can't keep hiding. They'll find us eventually." "What do you suggest?" Jake asked. Alex stopped pacing. He looked at his father and at Zara. "We fight back. We hit them first before they can call for reinforcements." Zara shook her head. "You cannot fight them. They are too strong." "Maybe," Alex said, "but we're not going to find out by sitting here waiting for them to find us." Jake thought about Mary. She had always said that sometimes you had to stand up to bullies even when you were scared. "Alex is right," Jake said. "We can't run forever. This is our home. We have to defend it." That night, they made their battle plans. Alex drew maps of the local area. Zara shared everything she knew about Vorthan tactics and technology. Jake contributed his knowledge of every back road, every farm, every hiding place in the county. "There are 15 hunters total," Zara said. "If we can defeat them quietly one at a time, we might have a chance." "What about their ships?" Alex asked. "The ships are automated. If we defeat the hunters, the ships will return to the main fleet, but they will report what happened here." Jake understood. "So even if we win, more Vorthans will come." "Yes, many more. With bigger ships and more weapons." Alex smiled grimly. "Then we better make sure we're ready for them too." Outside the barn, the night was quiet and peaceful, but Jake knew it was the calm before the storm. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. He looked at Zara, who was checking her few remaining weapons from the escape pod. He looked at Alex, who was cleaning his military rifle. Jake realized that his quiet life as a corn farmer was truly over. But maybe that was okay. Maybe some things were worth fighting for. Maybe some things were worth protecting no matter what the cost. "We'll need more help," Jake said quietly. "Just the 3 of us won't be enough." Alex nodded. "I know some people, good people, people who won't run when things get dangerous." "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked. "I do not want humans to die because of me." Jake put his hand on her shoulder. "Zara, you're family now. And we protect our family. All of our family, including everyone on Earth." Zara smiled sadly. "Your species is very strange. You fight for People you do not even know. That's what makes us human, Jake said. Alex returned to the farm 3 days later with 5 other Marines. They came in civilian clothes, driving old pickup trucks and carrying hunting rifles. To anyone watching, they looked like friends coming for a weekend of deer hunting. The Marines were good soldiers and trusted friends. There was Carlos, a demolitions expert from Texas. Linda, a sniper from Montana. Pete, a communications specialist from Ohio. Danny and Rico, 2 brothers from New York who could fix anything. Alex had told them the truth. All of it. They had not believed him at first. But when they met Zara and saw her technology, they became believers quickly. Holy shit, Carlos whispered when Zara showed him her energy weapon. This thing could cut through a tank. Linda was examining Zara's damaged armor. The metal is like nothing I've ever seen. It's light as aluminum but stronger than steel. Meanwhile, Betty had been busy too. She had quietly contacted other Army veterans in the area, people she trusted, people who would fight when fighting was needed. Soon there were 12 humans gathered in Jake's barn. All of them had military experience. All of them understood that Earth was in danger. Zara was amazed by human cooperation. On my world, different tribes fought each other constantly. Here, strangers work together to protect other strangers. That's what humans do, Jake said simply. Over the next week, they prepared for war. Alex and his Marines taught the others about military tactics. Betty organized supplies and medical equipment. Jake used his knowledge of local geography to plan ambush points, but their most important teacher was Zara. She knew Vorthon weaknesses better than anyone. Their energy shields protect them from laser weapons and explosions, she explained. But the shields cannot stop solid objects moving fast enough. Carlos grinned. So arrows and bullets will work? Arrows, yes, bullets maybe. The shields can stop some bullets, but not all, especially if many bullets hit at the same time. What about their armor? Linda asked. Strong, but not perfect. The joints are weak points. Under the arms, behind, the knees, the neck area. Danny raised his hand. What about their weapons? Can we use them? Zara nodded. If you can take them alive, yes. But be careful. Vorthon weapons are designed for Vorthon hands. They might be hard for humans to use. Rico had an idea. What if we modify them, make them work better for humans? This began the most interesting part of their preparation. Using tools from Zara's escape pod and materials from Jake's farm, they started building new weapons. Pete took apart several old car batteries and connected them to Zara's energy tools. The result was a powerful electromagnetic device that could disrupt Vorthon shields. Linda and Carlos worked together to create explosive arrows. They took regular hunting arrows and attached small charges to the tips. When the arrows hit Vorthon armor, the explosions would happen inside the shield. Danny and Rico built something they called the net gun. It shot strong metal nets that wrapped around targets. The nets were charged with electricity from Jake's farm generator. Even Jake contributed to the weapon making. He welded metal spikes onto his old tractor. If they needed to ram a Vorthon hunter, the tractor was ready. But the most clever invention came from Betty. She had been thinking about Vorthon psychology. They think we're stupid, Betty said, so let's act stupid. Let's make them underestimate us even more. Betty's plan was simple but brilliant. They would pretend to be helpless farmers and hunters. When the Vorthons came to investigate, they would find humans cowering in fear. The Vorthons would become careless and confident. That was when the real attack would begin. Their first test came sooner than expected. On a Thursday evening, Jake's motion sensors detected something large moving through his cornfield. The sensors were Vorthon technology that Zara had modified to work with human electronics. 2 hunters, Zara whispered, reading the sensor data. Moving slowly. They are being careful. Alex positioned his people around the field. Linda took her sniper rifle to the barn roof. Carlos and Pete hid behind Jake's chicken coop with their modified weapons. The others spread out through the corn rows, Jake and Zara waited in the farmhouse. They were the bait. When the Vorthans came looking, they would find Jake appearing to hide Zara in his basement. The plan worked perfectly. The two Vorthan hunters approached the farmhouse slowly. They were 8 feet tall with dark insect-like shells. Their red eyes glowed in the darkness. Energy weapons hung from their 4 arms. Jake pretended to panic when he saw them. He grabbed Zara's hand and ran toward the farmhouse, making lots of noise and acting scared. The Vorthans followed confidently. They had seen this before on many worlds. Primitive species always ran and hid when hunters appeared. But when the Vorthans entered Jake's house, everything changed. Linda's first shot hit the lead Vorthan behind the knee joint. Her arrow carried a small explosive charge. The Vorthan's leg buckled and it fell forward. Carlos activated Pete's electromagnetic device. The Vorthan's shields flickered and died. Then everyone opened fire at once. Bullets, arrows, and energy beams hit the hunters from all directions. The Vorthans tried to fight back, but they were confused and overwhelmed. In less than 2 minutes, both hunters were dead. Jesus Christ, Danny whispered, looking at the dead aliens in Jake's living room. We actually did it. But there was no time to celebrate. Zara was already stripping weapons and equipment from the dead Vorthans. We must move quickly, she said. The other hunters will notice when these two do not report back. They spent the rest of the night modifying their weapons. With Vorthan technology, the dead hunters had carried energy guns, personal shields, and communication devices. Rico figured out how to make the energy guns work for human hands. It's like a really advanced laser pointer, he said, grinning. Pete connected the Vorthan communication devices to his radio equipment. Now they could listen to hunter conversations, but the best prize was the personal shields. Zara showed them how to wear the devices and activate them. The shields will protect you from Vorthan energy. Weapons, she explained. But remember, they still do not stop fast physical objects. Over the next 3 days, they hunted the remaining Vorthans methodically. Each attack was carefully planned. Each victory gave them more alien technology to use. The Vorthans were skilled fighters, but they were not prepared for human tactics. They expected direct confrontation, not guerrilla warfare. They expected fear, not clever ambushes. Jake's farm became a fortress filled with mixed human and alien technology. Car batteries powered Vorthan shield generators. Hunting rifles were modified with alien targeting systems. Jake's old farm equipment was turned into armored vehicles. Betty set up a field hospital in the barn, using both human medical supplies and Vorthan healing devices. Zara taught her how the alien medicine worked. Your people are amazing, Zara told Jake one evening. They were sitting on the farmhouse porch, watching the others work on their equipment. You adapt so quickly, you learn so fast. Jake smiled. We're stubborn. When someone threatens our home, we don't give up. The main Vorthan fleet will come soon, Zara warned. When the scout ships do not return, the Empire will send warships. How many ships? Maybe 50, maybe 100, with thousands of soldiers. Jake nodded calmly. Then we better be ready for them. On the 7th day, they killed the last of the 15 hunters. Pete had been monitoring Vorthan communications. The scout ships were preparing to leave and report back to the main fleet. How long before the fleet arrives? Alex asked. Zara calculated quickly. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. Carlos laughed grimly. 3 weeks to prepare for an alien invasion. No problem. But Jake was already making plans. We need more people. We need to warn the government. We need to get ready for the biggest fight of our lives. That night, Jake stood in his cornfield and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was preparing to invade Earth. They were coming to capture humans and make them slaves. But Jake was not afraid. He looked at his farmhouse, now filled with the best fighters he had ever known. Human and alien technology working together. Friends who would die before they let Earth be conquered. The Vorthans thought humans were just another primitive species to be easily defeated. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jake smiled and walked back. To the house, there was work to do. Earth would be ready. 2 weeks later, Jake's quiet farm looked like something from a science fiction movie. The cornfield had been turned into a defensive maze with hidden bunkers and weapon positions. The farmhouse basement was now a command center filled with both human computers and Vorthon technology. Word had spread carefully through the local community. Betty had contacted more veterans. Alex had reached out to his military network. Soon there were 43 people preparing to defend Earth from alien invasion. The U.S. government had finally been contacted through Alex's military channels. At first, the officials did not believe the reports, but when Zara demonstrated her technology and showed them recordings of the dead Vorthon hunters, everything changed quickly. Military units were secretly moved to the area. Air Force jets patrolled the skies. Army engineers helped improve the defenses around Jake's farm. But everyone knew the main battle would happen here, where it all started. General Robert Hayes arrived 3 days before the invasion. He was a tough old soldier who had fought in many wars. He looked at Jake's makeshift fortress and shook his head. "Mr. Morrison, this is insane. We should evacuate everyone and fight the aliens with proper military forces." Jake was cleaning his rifle on the farmhouse porch. "General, with respect, your proper military forces have never fought aliens before." "We have. We know their weaknesses." "You killed 15 scouts. That's different from fighting a full invasion fleet." Zara stepped out of the barn. She had been working on their defensive systems. "General Hayes, your weapons will not work against Vorthon main battle armor. Only we know how to fight them effectively." The general looked at Zara with suspicion. "And why should we trust an alien?" Jake stood up quickly. "Because that alien has been bleeding and fighting beside us for weeks. Because she's teaching us how to save our world. Because she's family." General Hayes studied Jake's face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, Mr. Morrison, we'll do this your way. But I'm keeping military units on standby in case your plan fails." "Fair enough," Jake said. The Vorthon fleet arrived on a Tuesday morning. 57 ships appeared in the sky above Nebraska. They were huge and dark, like metal mountains floating in the air. Each ship was the size of a football stadium. Jake watched from his porch as the ships formed a circle around his farm. He felt a cold fear in his stomach, but he did not show it. Everyone was watching him. If Jake showed fear, they would all be afraid. "Well," Jake said calmly, "I guess this is it." The first Vorthon landing craft touched down in Jake's north field. The craft was smaller than the main ships, but still enormous. It was black and covered with strange lights. A ramp opened on the side of the craft. Vorthon soldiers marched out in perfect formation. These were not hunters. These were warriors. They wore heavy battle armor and carried weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Leading them was the biggest Vorthon Jake had ever seen. It was 10 feet tall with golden armor and 6 arms instead of 4. Zara gasped when she saw it. "General Chris," she whispered. "He is the one who destroyed my world." The Vorthon army spread out across the field. There were at least 200 soldiers in the first wave. More landing craft were arriving every minute. General Chris stepped forward. His voice boomed across the farm like thunder. "Humans of this world, I am General Chris of the Vorthon Empire. You are harboring a criminal. Surrender the female named Zara, and your deaths will be quick." Jake walked out to the edge of his porch. He was holding his hunting rifle, but it looked like a toy compared to the alien weapons pointed at him. "General Chris," Jake called back. "I'm Jake Morrison. This is my farm, and I'm not giving you anything." General Chris made a sound like angry insects buzzing. "You dare defy the Vorthon Empire? You are nothing but primitives with simple weapons." Jake smiled. "Yeah, we're pretty simple, but we're also pretty stubborn." That was the signal. The battle began. Linda's sniper shot hit General Chris in the eye slit of his helmet. The bullet carried an explosive charge designed by Carlos. The explosion cracked the general's helmet but did not kill him. Immediately, every human fighter opened fire from hidden positions throughout the farm. Bullets, arrows, and stolen Vorthon energy beams struck the alien soldiers from all directions. The Vorthons had been expecting a simple capture mission. Instead, they found themselves in a carefully planned ambush. Pete activated the electromagnetic pulse devices that Rico and Danny had built. Half of the Vorthon personal shields failed instantly. Carlos detonated mines hidden throughout the field. The explosions threw dirt and metal high into the air, but the Vorthons were professional soldiers. After the initial surprise, they began to fight back efficiently. Their energy weapons cut through Jake's defenses like hot knives through butter. Fall. Back to the secondary positions, Alex shouted over the noise of battle. The human fighters retreated through the corn maze they had built. The Vorthons followed, but the narrow paths between the corn rows channeled them into kill zones where human weapons were most effective. Jake found himself fighting beside Zara in the trenches behind his chicken coop. She was using a Vorthon energy rifle with deadly accuracy. "How many did we get?" Jake asked, reloading his rifle. "Maybe 40, Zara replied. "But they are calling for reinforcements. More ships are landing." Jake looked up at the sky. 3 more landing craft were descending toward his farm. Soon there would be over 1,000 Vorthon soldiers. "We need to even the odds," Jake muttered. He ran toward his old tractor. Pete and Rico had spent weeks modifying it with salvaged Vorthon technology. The tractor was now covered in alien armor plating and mounted with energy weapons. Jake started the engine and drove straight toward the largest group of Vorthon soldiers. The metal spikes welded to the front of the tractor gleamed in the sunlight. The Diu. Vorthons fired their energy weapons at the approaching tractor. But the alien armor plating absorbed most of the damage. Jake kept driving. The tractor crashed into the Vorthon formation like a battering ram. Alien soldiers were thrown in all directions. Jake jumped off the tractor and ran back toward his defensive lines, firing his rifle as he ran. But General Chris was not finished. The huge alien commander had repaired his damaged helmet. Now he was advancing toward the farmhouse with 50 elite guards. "Morrison," General Chris roared, "I will tear your primitive world apart piece by piece." Jake took cover behind his front porch. Betty was beside him, her rifle steady and ready. "That's a big, ugly bug," Betty said calmly. "Yeah," Jake agreed, "but even big bugs can be squashed." Alex and his Marines had circled around behind General Chris. When the alien commander reached the farmhouse, they attacked from the rear. The battle for the porch was fierce and brutal. Energy beams and bullets flew in all directions. The wooden walls of Jake's house were burned and splintered. General Chris fought like a demon. His 6 arms moved with incredible speed, firing weapons and swinging energy swords. He killed 3 human fighters before anyone could get close to him. But humans fight differently than other species. When one human falls, 2 others take his place. When those fall, 4 others step forward. Carlos managed to attach an explosive charge to General Chris's back. The explosion cracked the alien's armor and sent him stumbling forward. Linda put an arrow into the crack in the armor. The arrow carried Vorthon poison that Pete had extracted from captured weapons. General Chris fell to his knees. Green blood leaked from his damaged armor. Jake walked up to the dying alien commander. "You made one mistake, General. You thought we were primitive, but there's nothing primitive about protecting your home." General Chris looked up at Jake with hatred in his red eyes. "You have won nothing. More fleet will come. The Empire is vast." "Maybe," Jake said. "But they'll find us ready." General Chris died on Jake's front porch, next to the rocking chairs where Jake and Mary used to sit together on summer evenings. The battle continued for 6 more hours. But without their commander, the Vorthon soldiers lost coordination. Human tactics and determination began to win against alien technology. When the sun set, the farm was quiet again. Dead Vorthons lay scattered across the fields. Human fighters sat exhausted among the wreckage of the battle. They had lost 11 people, good people who had died defending their world. Jake stood among the graves that Betty and Alex were digging behind the barn. But they had also won something incredible. The Vorthon invasion force was destroyed. Nearly 600 alien soldiers were dead. Their ships were captured or damaged beyond repair. Zara sat on the farmhouse steps, looking up at the stars. Her silver hair was dirty, and her blue skin was marked with cuts and bruises. "It is finished?" she asked Jake. Jake sat down beside her. This battle is finished. But you heard what the general said. More ships will come. Are you afraid? Jake thought about that question. 2 months ago, he had been a simple corn farmer who worried about weather and crop prices. Now he was a veteran of the first interstellar war in human history. No, Jake said finally. I'm not afraid anymore. We know we can beat them, and next time we'll be even more ready. Zara smiled. Your species is remarkable, Jake Morrison. The Vorthans have conquered 100 worlds, but they have never faced humans before. And they're going to keep facing us, Jake said. Until they learn to leave peaceful people alone. The farmhouse was damaged. 6 months after the battle, Jake's farm looked completely different. The U.S. government had turned it into the Earth's first interstellar diplomatic center. New buildings had been constructed using both human engineering and captured Vorthan technology. But Jake still lived in his old farmhouse. He still had his chickens, and he still grew corn in the fields that were not being used for spacecraft landing pads. The biggest change was the number of aliens who now called the farm home. Zara had used the captured Vorthon communication equipment to contact resistance movements across the galaxy. When other species learned that humans had defeated a Vorthon invasion fleet, everything changed. The first refugees arrived 3 weeks after the battle. They came in damaged ships, fleeing from Vorthon slave worlds. There were the Kalari, who looked like tall, thin humans with golden skin. The Brawn, who were small and furry like intelligent bears. The Tessic, who had scales instead of skin and could breathe underwater. All of them had been running from the Vorthon Empire. All of them had given up hope of ever being free, until they heard about a small planet called Earth where primitive humans had destroyed an entire Vorthon fleet. Jake found himself becoming an unofficial ambassador, not because the government appointed him, but because the refugees trusted him. He was the human who had protected Zara. He was the farmer who had stood up to General Chris. Mr. Morrison, said Kalari leader named Jenna, my people would like to know if we can stay on your world. We have knowledge of Vorthon technology. We can help you prepare for the next attack. Jake was sitting on his front porch drinking coffee and watching alien children play with his chickens. The sight made him smile. Jenna, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but I think you should talk to the government people too. They make the big decisions. Jenna shook her golden head. The government people are nice, but they do not understand. You understand. You know what it means to protect family. That word again. Family. Jake had learned that it meant the same thing to every species in the galaxy. The people you care about, the people you protect, the people you would die for. The farm now housed 47 refugees from 12 different worlds. They all helped with the work. The Kalari were excellent mechanics. The Brawn were amazing cooks. The Tessic could grow plants that no human had ever seen before. But the most important work was being done in the new research center. Pete and Rico had been promoted to head a joint human-alien technology project. They were combining Earth engineering with captured Vorthon equipment and refugee knowledge. Jake, you need to see this, Alex called from the research building. Jake walked over to find his son standing next to something that looked like a metal egg the size of a car. What is it? Jake asked. It's a shield generator, Rico explained. But not like the personal shields the Vorthons use. This thing can protect an entire city. The Kalari helped us design it, Pete added. They knew the theory, but they never had the materials. Earth has materials they've never seen before. Alex smiled proudly. Dad, we're not just defending Earth anymore. We're building weapons that could free the entire galaxy. That evening, Zara found Jake in his usual spot on the front porch. She often sat with him now, watching the sunset and talking about the future. The Vorthon Empire is getting worried, she told him. My contacts in the Resistance say that 3 more slave worlds have rebelled in the past month. Good, Jake said simply. They are calling the rebellion the Earth Hope. They think humans are some kind of super warriors. Jake laughed. We're not super warriors, we're just stubborn farmers and soldiers who don't like bullies. Zara smiled. That is exactly what makes you super warriors. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Betty came running from the communications center, her face excited. Jake, Zara, come quick, you need to hear this. In the communications room, a large alien face filled the main screen. The creature looked like a cross between a lion and an eagle, with golden feathers instead of fur. I am Commander Talon of the Free Worlds Alliance, the creature said in perfect English. We represent 27 species that have broken free from Vorthan control. We wish to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. The government officials in the room were scrambling to figure out who should respond. But Commander Talon's eyes found Jake among the crowd. Are you Jake Morrison? The alien commander asked. Yes, sir, I am. Mr. Morrison, your victory has inspired hope across the galaxy. The Free Worlds Alliance would like to offer Earth full membership in our organization. We would also like to request your help in training other species to fight the Vorthans. Jake looked around the room at all the important government people. They were staring at him, waiting for his answer. Commander Talon, I'm just a farmer. I think you want to talk to the real leaders. Commander Talon made a sound like laughter. Mr. Morrison, we have been fighting the Vorthans for 50 years. In that time, we have never won a major victory. You defeated them in a single day. You are exactly the leader we want to talk to. 3 hours later, Jake found himself in the strangest meeting of his life. Government officials, alien refugees, military leaders, and scientists all sat around his kitchen table, discussing plans to liberate the galaxy. The key is training, Betty said. She had been appointed head of the new Interstellar Defense Academy. Every species fights differently, but they can all learn human tactics. We also need better ships, added Commander Talon via video link. Human technology is primitive, but your engineering principles are revolutionary. Alex leaned forward. What do you mean? You build things to be repaired, explained Jenna. Vorthan technology is advanced but fragile. When it breaks, it cannot be fixed. Human technology is simple, but it works forever. Rico grinned. That's because we can't afford to throw things away. We fix everything on Earth. This is why you will win, said Zara quietly. The Vorthans conquer through fear and superior technology, but you conquer through friendship and determination. Over the following months, Jake's farm became the center of an interstellar alliance. Ships from dozens of worlds landed regularly, bringing new refugees and supplies for the growing resistance. Jake taught alien warriors how to use human military tactics. Betty trained alien medics in both human and alien medicine. Alex led joint training exercises combining the best of all species fighting techniques. But Jake's favorite part was still the quiet moments. Evenings when he could sit on his porch with Zara, watching alien children play with Earth animals. Mornings when he could work in his garden alongside refugees who were learning to grow Earth vegetables. Do you miss your old life? Zara asked him one evening. When it was just you and the corn? Jake thought about that question. His old life had been lonely and sad. He had missed Mary every day. The empty farmhouse had felt like a tomb. Now his house was full of voices and laughter. His fields were full of new friends from across the stars. His kitchen table hosted diplomatic meetings that would shape the future of the galaxy. No, Jake said finally. I don't miss the old life. This is better. Even with all the danger, even knowing that the Vorthans will never stop trying to conquer Earth, Jake smiled and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Vorthan fleets were planning new attacks. But also out there, dozens of free worlds were preparing to defend each other. Zara, when you first came here, you said, please don't send me back. Do you remember? Of course. Well, I want you to know something. This is your home now, all of your friends, all the refugees, this whole interstellar alliance. This is your home, and we will never, ever send you back. Zara's green eyes filled with tears. She reached over and took Jake's hand. Her blue skin felt warm in the cool evening air. Thank you, Jake Morrison, for everything. The next morning, Jake was awakened by the sound of ships landing. But these were not refugee vessels. These were new warships built by the Free Worlds Alliance using combined human and alien technology. Commander Talon himself had come to Earth to take command of the new fleet. The golden-feathered alien leader walked up to Jake's porch with a formal bearing. "Mr. Morrison, the fleet is ready. 50 ships crewed by warriors from 27 worlds. We are prepared to take the fight to the Vorthan Empire." Jake looked at the magnificent ships sitting in his fields. Each one represented hope for billions of enslaved beings across the galaxy. "What do you need from me?" Jake asked. "Come with us," Commander Talon said simply. "The Alliance wants you to serve as strategic advisor. Your tactics could free entire star systems." Jake looked at his farmhouse, at his chickens pecking in the yard, at his cornfields where alien children were, playing games from a dozen different worlds. Then he looked at Zara, who was standing in the doorway with a travel bag in her hand. "You're going too?" Jake asked her. "My people are still enslaved on Vorthon worlds," Zara said. "It is time to bring them home." Jake nodded slowly. He had always known this day would come. The galaxy was a big place, and there were a lot of people who needed help. "Betty," Jake called to his friend who was organizing supplies near the research building. "Think you can take care of the farm while I'm gone?" Betty laughed. "Jake, I've been taking care of you for years. I think I can handle some corn and chickens." An hour later, Jake Morrison walked up the ramp of an interstellar warship, the